Are you sure?
Here's the 30-second lesson on what legends know. Never ask a bride why she's getting married. Don't wear a skirt on a windy day. Deodorant is not a shower. Don't sniff chili flakes. And don't forget, saving is not investing. Legends don't just save, they invest in mutual funds. Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
As you would expect, today's Cut The Clutter is about the latest from Hindenburg research. We've been hard at work, as you can see probably from my fingers and all this homework that's been done. It is quite complicated, what's come out from there and also the responses, and also to figure out what is motivated by what is factual and what leads to what is intended to reach what objective and what does it lead us to. All that's complicated and I've been hard at work, so I will come to you with some detail in as much simplicity as possible. However, before I do that, just a line. I had requested you some time back to take subscriptions, and I said if you take paid subscriptions, or if you are among those wonderful people who've taken paid subscriptions already, we will now start the process of giving you some benefits. And the first benefit we had promised you was an ad light experience, because a lot of you complain that there are too many ads on our website, and most of you watch everything on the phone. So phone is a small screen and those ads clog the screen. So we said to you that the first benefit we'll bring to you is an ad light experience. So you will see very few ads, if at all, and increasingly even fewer. However, losing those ads means losing revenues, right? We need revenue, so please top up your subscription or take a fresh subscription if you're not already a subscriber. So go to our website or see this link on your screens. I'm also sharing a link with you with the description of this episode. Please go there and you can see it. What's happened now is our login and subscription platform is now live. As promised, an ad light experience now awaits you. It's just a couple of clicks away. And if you are a paid subscriber, if you've paid a subscription at any point of time, you will soon receive an email from us providing the details on how to log in and access your benefits. Once that is done, then every couple of weeks, we'll roll out more benefits and I will talking to you about those. Now back to Hindenburg. Now what's happened with Hindenburg? If you see the Hindenburg statement, it's a long statement, detailed statement. First of all, what is it that it's directed at? It is directed towards two objectives, not one. One objective is to suggest, insinuate, depending on which expression you want to use, suggest, show, demonstrate, insinuate. It depends on the choice, depends on where you come from or where you stand on this controversy. It suggests, let's say, that the SEBI chairperson Madhabi Puri Buch she and her husband had made investments in a sort of a funny fund. A funny fund, an obscure small fund. Small is just $48 million at its peak. Right? $48 million is not such a big amount of money for a fund to hold, if that is the entire corpus of the fund. The corpuses of most funds of any significance to merit any story or any mention anywhere, even a mention in dispatches, would usually be hundreds of $millions or thousands of crores in India, or maybe even billions of dollars. But this isn't like that. This is a $48 million fund at its peak. In fact, the fund manager has stated themselves that at the peak, the fund had a corpus of $48 million. The fund was shut down in 2019. Until then, the fund was operational. These dates are very important and you will see why as we go along, and I will keep on underlining them. So the first thing is that Madhabi Puri Buch and her husband Dhaval, when they were living in Singapore, they were NRIs generally between 2010 and 2019. In the case of Madhabi, from 2011 onwards, say until 2017, they were living in Singapore and they made this investment of a little less than $1 million. I think at the peak must have been around $8,72,000 or something like that, or 5.5 crores, depending on when you convert. So that is the investment they had in that fund. Now, Hindenburg is not saying, let's be fair to them, they are not saying that this fund invested anything in the Adani companies. The fund manager has also issued a statement saying they did not invest anything at all in any of the Adani companies. In fact, 90% of their corpus, they say, was invested in bonds, not in equity. However, this was a fund for non-residents. It was a fund for non-residents. It could have invested technically in Indian equities, but they say they did not invest anything in any instrument, equity, bond, derivatives of the Adani Group. That's what the fund says. That's one thing. So the insinuation then is, from this suggestion, the insinuation is that this is the fund in which bulk of the remaining investment has come from Vinod Adani, or a company promoted by, a private limited company promoted by Vinod Adani, who's the NRI brother of Gautam Adani. And remember, the original allegation by Hindenburg was that there were opaque structures made across the world in tax havens, mostly allegedly by Vinod Adani, who is a non-resident. And in these structures, money allegedly siphoned off from over-invoicing of equipments, big expensive capital equipments purchased or imported by the Adani Group from overseas. Those were allegedly over-invoiced, and the remaining amount, suppose something actually cost 100 rupees, but you invoiced it for 150, I'm just explaining it to you. Then 100 you paid to the supplier, 50 somebody siphons off. What happens with that 50? So the Hindenburg allegation was that that 50, whatever it was put away in these obscure, opaque funds, which were then used to invest in Adani Group equities. So these then bought into Adani Group equity. In the process, a lot of these opaque entities acquired Adani Group equity. Now, in this, under SEBI regulations, for a company to be listed, for a listed company, 25% of its equity has to be held by public. It cannot be held by promoters. So once again the insinuation and also allegation was that since a lot of this equity was held by entities close to the Adani family, close to the promoters, only a little bit was being traded, and then if only a little bit is traded, say 3% or 4% is traded, it's that much easier to manipulate the stock price. And that's how the allegation from Hindenburg was, that these overseas entities which had the money from alleged over-invoicing, that money was used by related parties to buy up equity in the Adani Group to shore up their share prices. That is the summary of the allegations. Now the insinuation following from this is not that Madhabi Puri Buch and her husband were invested in a fund that was investing in Adani companies. No, the allegation is that that this is a fund which is tiny, it's obscure, right? So why did they make an investment in a fund like that? Particularly because it looks like the bulk of the investment, it may be a small fund, but the bulk of the investment at one point, say around December 2017, about $40 million out of a peak of 48 million, as the fund manager says, that was owned by Vinod Adani or his company through his company ATIL. Now you get the picture that you were in bad company. You were in bad company. You were in the company of Adani's. You were in the company of a fund, the sisters, brothers, offspring of which have been used allegedly to buy up the Adani stock. That is something that Financial Times had also said in a long story. So what were you doing in that company? And why were you making an investment there? You were sitting in Singapore. Now, a few things need to be understood. One, that this investment was made in 2015. 2015 was a long time before Madhabi Puri Buch came anywhere near SEBI. So that investment was made there, and that is the defense from the Buches as well. But once again, the counter allegation would be that you must have known the Adanis, or you must have had something to do with the Adanis. You are smart people. So what were you doing giving this money, your hard-earned money, tax-paid hard-earned money, to a structure like this, to a tiny, obscure structure like this? To which, again, the answer is that this was set up by one of Dhaval Buch's close friends, Anil Ahuja, who had been his pal from IIT Delhi. This was part of IIT Delhi Brotherhood, right? And he had done very well. He'd been with Citibank's sparkling career, Citibank, JP Morgan, etc., etc. So we thought that he will do well with this fund. So those are the allegations. Those are the specific allegations linking Madhabi Puri Buch, allegedly linking Madhabi Puri Buch to Adani. In this case, the linkage, if anything, is only by association. That you were in that company, or the company of that a member of that family in a fund where he had the dominant investment, never mind the small size of the fund. So that is one. And then that leads to the allegation that there was conflict of interest, in the sense that if SEBI had investigated Adani properly in terms of these overseas quote-unquote dodgy investors, then that investigation would have led to the door of the SEBI chairperson herself. That is the larger charge that is linked with Adani. Now, there is a second axis of the charges. The second axis of the charges is, this now goes on. The first one is just to say that looks like there was a connection with Adani, and looks like there was a connection with those elements in the Adani group which are investing from overseas, or quote-unquote allegedly manipulating the share price from overseas by using money allegedly. I will say allegedly so many times that I think you will lose count, but it's not just legally better, but it's also fair, because these are allegations, right? With entities which are allegedly manipulating the Adani Group's share price in India. So that is one. The other is raising questions about the integrity of the SEBI chairperson. Now remember that SEBI has also issued a show cause notice to Hindenburg, basically asking them to come and explain the charges of manipulation of stock markets, using information, etc., whatever it is, but they have issued a show cause notice to Hindenburg as well, whatever the jurisdictional issues. So Hindenburg is hitting back at Madhabi Puri Buch by saying that, look, it isn't just this investment that you guys made in this obscure, tiny fund where the bulk of the investment has come from, quote-unquote, an Adani-linked overseas company, and God knows what this structure was being used for. And siblings of this structure, according to us, according to Hindenburg, have been used by the Adani Group to invest in India, right? I'm overemphasizing it, but it is necessary to do so because there should not be any confusion. So that is one thing, but hello, you are the chairperson of SEBI, huh? And you send us a notice, you send us a show cause notice, and you've not been able to find anything on Adani. So let's check out your own record. And that's where they go into something completely unconnected with the Adanis. That is the second axis of this attack. One is this Adani-linked fund, or allegedly Adani-linked fund, which has not invested in any Adani Group companies. And the second is questioning some conflicts of interest issues which have nothing to do with Adani. So generally, the allegation is that you set up consultancies. You set up consultancy companies, Agora Advisories, eponymous, the same name in India and in Singapore also, say generally between 2011 2013. The Indian company was set up in 2013, and you carried out consultancy work. When Madhabi Puri Buch shifted to Singapore, initially she worked with a private equity firm, and then she set herself up as a consultant. So you had this consultancy business. You were running it in Singapore and in Delhi. Did these consultancies work with companies you might have been regulating as the SEBI chairperson? In which case, there will be a conflict of interest and possible quid pro quo. So your own record of probity Never mind the Adanis. So your own record of probity needs investigation, and will you offer yourself for a free and fair investigation? Because we suspect or we allege that there is a conflict of interest between these two companies, their consultancy businesses, and the companies you regulated. Then they also go on to say, because of Singapore's laws and Singapore's system, we are not able to get underneath the consultancy you set up in Singapore to know how much money you earned there or if you're still earning anything there. But we are able to access what's happening with your company in India. Looking at the Indian company's records available on ROC website, we can see that even in 2022, it was earning an income. In 2022, by the end of the year, it had earned an income of nearly 2 crores, actually precisely 1 crore 98 lakhs. That is 4 times more than the salary you might have earned from SEBI. Now, SEBI salary is a government salary, so 2 crores can be 1/4 of what a government salary can be. Even that would be a very generous government salary. Now, if these consultancies were earning this money, and if these were earned from companies you were regulating, were you recusing yourself when it came to these companies? And were you making disclosures the right way to the right authority? The third thing they say is, and that again is attacking Madhabi Puri Buch's own record of probity. This has again nothing to do with Adani. They say that your husband, Dhaval Buch, became an advisor to Blackstone. Blackstone is the big global private equity company in India. I mean, they used to run mutual funds, etc. But in India, they're big businesses. They are buying up a lot of commercial space across the country and then renting it. And through that, and all of that, they've put in REITs, real estate investment trusts. That is something that Government of India has been promoted for quite some time, also as a way of getting more FDI into the country. One, to get more FDI, that's Blackstone. And second, also to create one more financial instrument in the markets. Now, they say that your husband became an advisor to Blackstone, and SEBI it is which gives clearances to real estate investment trusts, also regulates them, and has been amending the regulations in such a way that these benefit real estate investment trusts, of which the big daddy, my language not theirs, of which the big daddy is Blackstone. So they've benefited most of all. Did you make disclosures about it, or did you recuse yourself? So the first track is the allegation of an Adani linkage, and the second track is questioning the SEBI chairperson's honesty, probity, disclosures, etc. This also then has a knock-on effect on SEBI, because if your chairman is quote-unquote compromised, then how can SEBI be trusted as a regulator? That's the reason the responses have come from Madhabi Puri Buch and her husband. A joint statement has been issued in their name. They've also come from SEBI. So that is the basic story. Now, dates are crucial. What I will do is, with the description, I will share with you the Hindenburg research initial statement, then a series of tweets that Hindenburg put out after the response from Madhabi Puri Buch and Dhaval Buch, and response from the fund group, the fund manager. That said, here are some crucial dates. June 5, 2015. June 5, 2015, the Buches made an investment. They made an investment of less than $1 million with this fund called IPE Plus Fund 1. Right? So what these fund houses do is they create many structures. You might have seen, when you see these documents, you will see the expression segregated fund. What's a segregated fund? So there can be one fund house which can create many structures. Some of these structures can be like mutual funds, like where lots of people invest on a completely hands-off basis. Some can be also created for specific people, specific investors for specific needs. These might be called bespoke. Bespoke is like you buy a ready-made shirt like I do, or go to a tailor and get one made. That's a bespoke shirt, right? So they can also do bespoke structures. That's why you will find many of these structures numbered. So this is IPE plus Fund 1. This is where this investment was made by the Buches on June 5, 2015. Hindenburg says, and I quote from their report, and I quote, "We find it unsurprising that the SEBI was reluctant to follow trail that may have led to its own chairperson." Why do they say so? Because the Butches have made this investment on June 5, 2015, long before Madhabi Puri Buch has come anywhere near SEBI. She was made a whole-time director only in 2017, summer of 2017. As they get closer to that situation, June 2017, at that point, Dhaval Buch has written to the fund saying that the name of Madhabi Puri Buch will be withdrawn from the fund. He will be the sole holder and controller of the fund from then onwards. It's, however, a twist that I will come to. Now, two things Hindenburg says. One, they say that there was an Adani connection here as well. Because you might say that Dhaval Buch and Anil Ahuja, the fund manager, were friends from IIT Delhi, and he was a man of great repute, having done work successfully at Citibank, JP Morgan, etc., etc., etc. But don't forget, and we know that he was a director on Adani Enterprises, a three-term director, 3 terms of 3 years each, 3 into 3, 9 years. And before that, he was a director on Adani Power as well. In fact, he launched the fund just when he had ceased to be director on the Adani board after doing 9 years, 3-year terms. After that, he set up this fund. Now, Anil Ahuja, the defense from the other side would be that he was a reputed guy. Many companies wanted him on their boards. In fact, he served 6 years on the board of HDFC as well. So a board membership doesn't mean anything, but these are charges and counter charges that will keep flying. So once again, they draw an Adani connection in this case, that Anil Ahuja, the founder of this fund or the mover of this fund, mover and shaker of this fund, he was also connected with the Adani Group. Third thing they say is that while you might say that Madhabi Puri Buch ceased to be an investor in this fund through a letter that Dhaval Buch wrote just about 2 weeks, 22nd of March 2017, just about 2 weeks before she joined the board of SEBI, not the chairperson yet. That happened 5 years later in 2022. She joined the board of chairperson as a whole-time member. So 2 weeks before that, Dhaval Buch wrote saying that Madhabi Puri's name should no longer be there. So he became the sole owner. But after that, on 25th of February 2018, while Madhabi Puri Buch is a whole-time member at SEBI, not chairperson, whole-time member at SEBI, she writes an email from her personal email address, Gmail address, to the fund, "Dear so-and-so, Dhaval would like to redeem all his units." That's on behalf of her husband, that my husband would like to redeem all his units, and here is the completed form, so please redeem these units, and that was done. Hindenburg says that because you wrote this mail to the fund, maybe on behalf of your husband, that means that you still did not have a hands-off relationship there. You still were linked with the fund and had an interest there. This, by the way, this date, 25th February 2018, generally coincided with the period, with the month that Anil Ahuja also left the fund. So once again, the Puchis would say, we were there because a friend was there, the friend left, so we also redeemed our investments in the fund. Now we come to the consultancies. Agora Partners, Agora Advisor. So the expression that Hindenburg uses it, that the Singapore company, she transferred as she was moving to SEBI, whole-time director, she quietly transferred all her shareholding to her husband. So my initial reaction was, how do you non-quietly transfer your shareholding to somebody? Do you make an announcement? It's a private company. It's between spouses. Maybe to give Hindenburg the benefit of doubt and maybe use some guesswork, educated guesswork. What they mean is that she transferred this shareholding to her husband but did not make a public disclosure of this. That is what they mean by saying that she did so quietly. That happened on March 16, 2022, generally 2 weeks after her appointment as SEBI chairperson, and this shareholding was transferred to her husband. They say that we are not able to find out what's happening to this company in Singapore, whether it has made any money or not. The Buchis have said in their defense, their statement says that once Madhabi Puri Buch joined SEBI, both these consultancy companies, both of our consultancy companies had become dormant in Singapore as well as in India. They also say that these companies, their shareholdings in these companies were part of regular disclosures to SEBI. That this is what they say in their written statement as well. SEBI says that all necessary disclosures were made and recusals were also made. 2019, Dhaval retired from Unilever. He was the head of the supply chain management. He was a kind of chief procurement officer. So he had expertise in supply chain management. He then decided to set up his own consultancy business after retirement and apparently used the same companies. Now, in the Singapore company, she had transferred 100% shareholding to Dhaval. In the Indian company, Hindenburg says, where Hindenburg has found that 2 crore revenue, nearly 2 crore revenue in 2022, that one remains 99% owned by Madhabi Puri Buch. However, she is not a director in that company. She and Dhaval Buch claim that they have disclosed these shareholdings to SEBI at the right time, in the right forums. SEBI also says that as well. They also say in their statement that they had very well paid lives for decades in some of the topmost corporates in the world, right? And they were paid a fair bit, also from stock options, bonuses, etc. So now link this 2 crore revenue to Madhabi Puri Buch's salary, government salary, is quote-unquote malicious. The Buch couple in their statement have also said that all their shareholding transfers have been disclosed to Indian authorities, Singapore authorities, also to tax authorities in both countries, disclosed to SEBI as well. And they say all necessary disclosures and recusals have been carried out, including about all securities held or subsequently transferred between them or by them. That said, we come now to the Blackstone issue. So the allegation from Hindenburg is that in July 2019, Dhaval Buch was appointed as senior advisor by Blackstone. That is just after he had started his consultancy. So senior advisor at Blackstone may have been, we don't know how much he was paid, etc. But it can't be an insignificant job. So they say Dhaval Buch was appointed senior advisor by Blackstone, which was running big real estate investment trusts in India. By the way, the SEBI Real Estate Investment Trust bill was passed in 2014. So that didn't happen just now. They say that he was appointed, although he's never had any experience in managing real estate, finance, funds, etc., etc. So why was he given this job? And again, the insinuation or implication is that's because his wife was a whole-time member on SEBI, and SEBI it was, which was regulating real estate investment trust and also making rules about them. Now, obviously, it's nobody's case, can't be anybody's case that Blackstone knew that 3 years from then, Madhabi Puri Buch will become chairperson of SEBI, but this is what they say. And then they say that subsequently, particularly after Madhabi Puri Buch became chairperson, SEBI became very kind to the idea of REITs. So many amendments were carried out to the law which favored the REITs. And also in one of the public appearances, in fact at a TV channel event, in fact News 18 Rising Bharat Summit, Madhabi Puri Buch said, and this is where Hindenburg quotes her, and I quote from there, that this is her, and I quote, favorite product for the future, right? Because this is when Government of India was also promoting REITs as a big idea for the future. She was also saying that. The insinuation from Hindenburg is that she was doing this because her husband had a stake, had an interest in Blackstone being its senior advisor. And then Hindenburg goes on to say that under her watch, SEBI proposed and passed a raft of REIT legislations, and those helped Blackstone, to which the response has come. Two responses have come. One from SEBI. SEBI says that, look, this has always been our objective, like promoting ease of doing business from time to time. All these issues are debated in public. Agenda papers of SEBI board meetings are also put in public. are on our website, and also the decisions and discussions are also on our website. So all of this is transparent. SEBI statement says that the regulator has been promoting more and more REITs because it wants a larger variety of financial instruments in the market, right? Financialization is a larger objective, and they say they've been promoting the idea of REITs, real estate investment trusts, SM REITs, which is small and medium real estate investment trusts, and also InvITs or INV, ITs, that is infrastructure investment trusts. These are all separate instruments which have been promoted under the watch of SEBI, and they say everything's been fully disclosed. The Buches say in their statement that Madhabi Puri Buch had specifically recused herself from any discussions on Blackstone. Now, I will read you a line from the SEBI statement. It says, and I quote, "It is noted that relevant disclosures required in terms of holdings of securities and then transfers have been made by the chairperson from time to time. Chairperson has recused herself in matters involving potential conflict of interest." That's what SEBI has said. That said, what questions remain? Let me try and list some for you. One, and this is something that Hindenburg has also demanded in their tweets after the statements from Madhabi Puri Buch and SEBI. That is, release full list of clients served by the two consultancies, the two Agora consultancies, one in Singapore, one in India. Serve the full list of clients, see if there is a possibility of quid pro quo, that's what they're suggesting. And have you carried out recusals in the case of all of these, in case some of these clients are people that SEBI is regulating in India under your watch? That's the first point. The second point that will arise is, if these disclosures were made, who were these disclosures made to? Were they made to the team that works under you, or were these made to those that you report to? That's an important point. If that redemption was made from that fund in Singapore, from which Dhaval Buch had earlier said that Madhabi will no longer be an investor, the email to the fund saying that Dhaval wanted to redeem his funds was written by Madhabi, and there was a form enclosed. Who signed that form? Who authorized that redemption? That question will also come up as we go along, and some of these disclosures are now needed so that we get more clarity in this situation.